Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. This is the final episode before your Washington Commanders take a pick at pick number 29, we think, unless they trade back or up for that matter in the NFL draft, which is on Thursday night. So, fellas, I'm super excited about this. The Commanders are going to get better one way or another draft weekend. Eric, let me ask you this. Your preference when it comes to the draft. It used to be first and second rounds were on the same night. Do you prefer that, or do you prefer the one-round cadence?
I don't know. I kind of like stretching it out because it lets me go to bed earlier. And at my age, that's really what it's all about. So I prefer the current way where I can watch the first round, and then I got something to do this weekend too. So yeah, I'm a much bigger fan of the current format.
Okay, I can dig it. What about you, Mike?
I can respect that. There's multiple ways to say that it's better. You have more coverage the first two nights on usually dead nights. Well, unless you're an NBA fan, the playoffs are going at the same time. But you can go back and forth for that. Like, it's no problem. Your team, like us, we're not picking until the 29th pick. So we're gonna have to wait until like after 11 o'clock to see us pick or trade back. Like, yeah, so. But I like the format. It's more football. Who's going to get upset with that?
I agree, but I got a better idea to handle the draft. You tell me what you guys think about this. They should do picks 1 through 16 night 1. Call that the lottery draft. Like, not lottery, but pick 1 through 16 night 1 on Thursday night. They do picks 17 through 32 night 2, and they do the rest of the draft on Saturday, right? So you split up that first round. You give GMs time to make some calls to get a little trade buzz going. What do you think? Hate it or love it?
Nope. I got a better idea. Start it March 1st and make one pick a day until training camp
opens. That'll work. Yeah. Okay. Maybe not.
Those ideas are out there. Like, those are really out there ideas.
What's your preferred network to watch their draft coverage on, Eric?
NFL. I think NFL Network.
Yeah.
I don't really know, honestly. I actually usually just like follow it on my phone. And then and then when it gets close to Washington's pick, I'll join in. Yeah, I don't really know.
I'm a Mel Kiper loyalist. I hate to say that, but I'm just loyal to Mel Kiper, and I watch his coverage on ESPN.
I just think ESPN has an overall better presentation, and they have it on multiple channels. They have it on ABC. They have it on ESPN. They have multiple viewpoints. Yeah. NFL Network, I think they go a bit more deeper. So I can see how if you're an analytical man, you're like, nah, give me the next gen stats, this, and that. But pound for pound, pick for pick, give me ESPN, ABC.
I'm waiting for Nickelodeon to start hosting it like
they do. Man, don't get me started.
You know what's weird is that ESPN has better insiders than the NFL Network does, and the NFL Network is the NFL. I never understood that. Like, Adam Schefter to me is the GOAT, NFL insider, and he seems to have better details.
Remember where he started? I think, matter of fact, a couple of the NFL reporters on ESPN started the NFL Network. Yeah, you're right. It is the NFL, but ESPN got that Disney money, and like it may not be.
They're like NFL Network is like a propaganda wing for the NFL. Like, they're not going to say anything negative about the league.
That's true.
That's
true.
Yeah. What's your least favorite part of the draft, Eric?
The least favorite part, probably Philadelphia. No, no. I don't know. I don't really have a least favorite part. It's just like it's nice to like. I don't watch every second of it, but it's nice to like, I'll have it on, and then I'll go out and cut the grass and come back, and then watch like 100 picks, that transpired on day 3. That's cool for me. But like, least favorite part, I probably the Eagles picks.
What about you?
Honestly, the gap between the Washington picks. Like, I can't think of anything else that's more annoying than waiting until my team picks again. I got a question for y'all though. The funniest draft memory, and I'll go first.
Go ahead.
That year when the Vikings missed their pick twice. And it's crazy because we always wonder, like, what would happen if the time ran out? Like, what would happen? Well, it's the easy answer. You're just going to get skipped. Now, I wonder, I don't know how the money works in that, though. Like, do the Vikings still have to pay the same amount of the pick that they were assigned, or does it whatever? But that was funny to me.
Yeah, I remember that one. Mine would be like when the Saints traded their whole draft for Ricky Williams. Remember that? Was it the Saints that traded the whole draft, or was it?
Yeah, it was the Saints, but that's not that funny because Washington was the team that was the beneficiary of it, but they ain't really do nothing with it.
Yeah, they got Mike. They got
The
Mike.
best part of that was that everybody knew Washington wanted Champ Bailey at 5, and then the Saints gave up everything for Ricky Williams to move up 2 spots, and Washington got anyway at 7. So It worked perfectly. But my favorite is I'm old enough. I remember watching this was it Bill Tobin and Mel Kiper Jr. the feud. But who the hell is Mel Kiper Jr. anyway? About Trent Dilfer.
Wow.
Like I remember basically just calling him out like that guy's never done anything. He never even played football. He's just garbage. But you know what? He was right.
Who's your favorite? I said, who's your favorite? Like on draft day, the most excited you've ever been for a Redskins or Commanders pick, and take Jayden Daniels out of it. Who was your, like, in the entire history of you watching the draft? Who's your favorite home team pick that you ever saw us get that you were just through the roof about?
I think I'm gonna say Sean Taylor.
Okay.
Because I remember the hype between him or Kellen Winslow. There was another player around that time too, but I didn't know about Sean Taylor until his rookie season. And I remember, his last season in Miami. And I remember that game at Florida State Young. That rain, it was raining, it was storming, and he was amazing. And I was like, I remember it was like November or September or whatever. And I remember saying to myself, man, if we can get that dude, it'll be crazy. Lo and behold, they got him at 5. That was crazy. That was by far probably my favorite pick now that I think on it.
That's the one when Sean Taylor, the Florida State game, when he just blew up PK Sam, the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Cartwheel in the air. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Eric? Who's your favorite all-time pick? I know you're a history guy.
Okay, yeah, mine is it's a little bittersweet because I was so wrong, but I was jacked up. That was Desmond Howard when they picked Desmond Howard at 4 back in 93.
93.
I think it was 92. It was 92 because it was right after they won the Super Bowl. They went up and they traded up, I believe, and got Desmond. And this is coming off because part of it was because Washington never had first round picks when I was a kid. Never had. I mean, they had it was like Art Monk, Darrell Green, Mark May are the only first round picks Washington had my entire childhood. And I think it's from 1970 to 1992. They had those were the only 3 first round picks they had. So just
were they trading them?
Yeah, they were. But they got guys like Wilbur Marshall and Dave Butts and all these guys for him. So I can't complain.
Okay.
Yeah, I was stoked because Desmond Howard coming off that Heisman season where he was just a baller. I was really excited for him, and yeah, he turned into Desmond Howard. So, but I was excited.
I remember that draft. I was pretty young, but I remember being at Denny's with my mom as a kid, and they had newspapers in there for you folks that are not young enough or old enough to remember. There's this thing where they used to print the news on a paper, and you could buy it. But
that's insane.
It was in the restaurant, and I remember it was like a big deal. Because you remember his contract was 4 years for $28 million. And that was a huge thing back then. And the media was very critical of the pick. I remember reading that. Why would you get a kick returner, in the first round? And I was like, what year? You say 93? So I was super young. But I remember reading that while we were at breakfast. And I was like, Dad, these people are being awful mean to our draft pick. So I do remember that. I think, for me, as I try to find my
they were right.
they were very right about that. Yeah.
You It's Super Bowl MVP for another team though, so that's at least good.
Yeah.
He was. I don't know. I'm gonna have to come back to that one. Let me think on mine. I'll interrupt somebody. Actually, let me look.
You don't even have to. It was RG3. We could just.
No. I was not. No. I was weirdly. I know it is. Patrick Ramsey. Bar none. It was Patrick Ramsey.
Patrick Ramsey.
Yep.
Yeah, you were in your teens around that time, probably. So you didn't know any better.
I did not. I was hyped over Patrick Ramsey, y'all. I was. I'm trying to plug my laptop in.
To be fair, I was young too, and I didn't know any better either.
Jason Campbell too. I was kind of hyped about Jason Campbell. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I was more excited about Campbell than Ramsey, because when they drafted Ramsey, I was like, Tulane. Like, why would you?
Right.
I don't know what my fascination was with. I wasn't the only one.
But no, Ramsey was all right. I think if Gibbs was younger, he would have won a Super Bowl with Ramsey. I feel like if he was younger. If Gibbs was younger, not Ramsey.
Well, Gibbs didn't help Ramsey at all. Let's put it. He didn't do it. Gibbs didn't like young quarterbacks. People forget that. Like Gibbs didn't want any part. Like he just wanted an old veteran quarterback. That's just what he did. And even when they drafted Campbell, the first chance he got, he benched him and he got injured and he put Todd
Collins
in, and then he just stuck with him when Campbell was healthy because he just wanted that old washed up vet because that's just the kind of quarterback he liked. So he ruined. Yeah, him and Spurrier combined just ruined Patrick Ramsey. So
Spurrier really ruined.
All Patrick's fault, but partially.
Can we all come together and say that we all hated the Josh Dotson pick when it happened? And
I can't say that. Unfortunately, I can't. Because I was thinking that was one of my favorite picks. It was before I knew that, and we may talk about this later on in the show, that statistic about separation coming out of college. And he did not have good separation. And he probably should not have been drafted as high as he was drafted. But
talking about Jahan Dotson, I just realized we were talking about Josh Dotson. I forgot all about him.
Yeah, Josh Dotson. The Jahan Dotson pick was actually the opposite. That was one of the more questionable picks that I can remember. One that I didn't like because we looked at so many receivers before that draft. And Dotson was not one of the receivers that we looked at. But it just seemed like Rivera has some infatuation with, I don't know, good model people or whatever with family values and military background and stuff like that. And, yeah, like, the pick was trash. The Jamin the Jameis Davis pick just as trashy. So, yeah. The complete opposite of the question you asked.
I get it. All right, let's jump into some of these draft rumors, draft buzz. Won't all be about the Commanders, but let's start with Shedeur Sanders. It sounded like he could fall out of the first round altogether. Teams are saying he was the worst interview ever. To me, it kind of sounds like teams are trying to get him to slip so he'll be there when they pick. Mike, I'm gonna start with you. Is that real? Or do you think it's draft cap from the NFL teams?
Maybe a mix of both. For some reason, I'm thinking about Laramie Tunsil when the gas mask leaked out. And I guess I'm just equating that to the fact that teams lie. Teams are dirty. They like to spread that type of information to drop it down. However, this is a Sanders we're talking about, too. Like, they're not really the most humble, chill people. So I can understand how he can rub higher ups the wrong way. But yeah, I feel like the truth may be in the middle. I think he was just being himself and it was a little bit too much for people. But there are some people that's using this strategically to drive him down the board. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah. I think anything's possible with him tomorrow. And Thursday. That's going to be the most exciting part of the draft for me is where Shedeur goes, because it really kind of can determine the rest of the draft. And I think what you're hearing now, sort of as we trend towards the draft, is that expect a lot more offensive linemen a lot earlier than people think are going to go. I think people are projecting a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of receivers, not receivers, but a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of running backs, but offensive linemen are going to rule the first part of this draft. Eric, there have been a lot of rumors about running backs lately. Genty could go as high as 2 or 3. There was some reports from Peter Schrager that teams were looking to trade up into the top 5 to take Genty. Are you buying that rumor, or do you think that's just normal BS from the draft?
No, I buy it. I think you're trying to jump ahead of the Raiders, right? The Raiders pick at 6, I think, and that's probably the team that you're going to have to jump up because I don't think he gets past the Raiders at 6. So I think somebody might jump up into that. I think it's Jacksonville that has the 5th pick. So I can see Jacksonville selling that pick to somebody that might want somebody like Chicago that has draft capital and might want Genty for he's got that kind of similar skill set to what Jahmyr Gibbs has that Ben Johnson had up in Detroit. So I can see that happening. Maybe even Denver, for all I know, might want to jump up there. So no, I don't. It wouldn't surprise me at all if somebody traded up for Genty because I don't think he gets past the Raiders.
Do you think he's as generational as everybody is saying?
No.
You buy
it? I think similar to a lot of players, it's going to be the situation that he goes into. He lands with the right team. Like if he lands with Ben Johnson, I think he's going to do great. I don't know about the Raiders. Well, no, I mean Pete Carroll's there with Gina. The system is kind of proven, so I can see maybe that's not the most stable organization like Seattle was, but with Carroll there at least initially. So again, it's just going to depend. Like if he goes to Cleveland, then no, he's going to have a terrible career. Or the Giants, I think he's going to get ruined there. Just like they tried to do to Saquon Barkley and he'll maybe flourish elsewhere. But yeah, so all situational with him. And also, I don't think Sanders, by the way, I don't think he's going to Pittsburgh if he falls. If the Saints don't take him, I think Pittsburgh gets him at 21. He doesn't get past them.
I think
he might rumors just to get to Pittsburgh because he probably doesn't want to go to Cleveland or Jacksonville or wherever either. So
the betting odds have the Rams as the number 1 location for Shedeur.
That's a great situation for him. I was thinking Jackson Dart with the Rams, but no, I think Shedeur, that'd be a great situation for Shedeur or Dart, honestly.
Yeah, agreed. Jackson Dart to the New Orleans Saints at 9 is one of the hottest rumors. I feel like that's a bit early for me because I think just 2 months ago, Jackson Dart was like a day 2, day 3 pick. Mike, what do you think, man? You think he goes before Shedeur?
I mean, yeah, I can see that maybe, but at 9, nah, not at 9 with so many players available. It's not like the Saints are. Well, I guess with Carr's injury, they kind of do need a quarterback, but maybe you could survive another year with Rattler, man. It's not like he was awful when he played. He wasn't like spectacular, but a second year might be better. Outside of the Saints, what other team is that needy for a quarterback to draft Jackson Dart in the first round? I don't know. So can he go over Shedeur? Sure. Will either go in the first round? It's iffy. It's going to be an interesting Thursday night as far as the quarterback goes, that's for sure. We know Cam going first, so after that, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Man, you better believe in Jackson Dart like Sean Payton believed in Bo Nix last year if you're taking him at 9, and you better be right.
That's a good call. Or the Vikings with McCarthy. Like, because remember, around this time last year, the buzz was like a hive at this point. Like McCarthy, we all knew he was going first. But remember, last year, before the combine, McCarthy wasn't projected to go that high. So Dart may not have had that much of a rise publicly, but who knows? Like maybe he will go late on the first, but I'm just saying, like, there's so many players available that I've never seen him go that high in mock drafts that I've done. That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't think Dart is a. I mean, I think the Saints have so much more that they need, and they're just going to. I mean, they're not. They shouldn't be drafting a quarterback in round 1 this year. They've got too many other needs, and they're just going to get whoever they have killed. So just throw Spencer Rattler to the Wolves this year. Get a high pick. Maybe you're in play for Arch Manning next year.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Now, TreVeyon Henderson is getting a lot of buzz lately. A lot of buzz. I put on Twitter that he can go between 10 and 20. And in fact, I think he could go before Omarion Hampton. Am I insane, Eric?
I don't think it's insane. I don't think he goes that high. I still don't. I'm not 100% convinced Hampton, either one of them goes in the first round. But who knows? I like TreVeyon Henderson. I think if Washington has a chance to grab him, maybe not with their first round pick, but maybe with their second, or if they move back, if he's still there, I think, at 29, depending on what's there at 29, maybe he's the best guy on the board, but there may be other options there for them. But I like TreVeyon Henderson, and it wouldn't surprise me if he went over Omarion Hampton. It also wouldn't surprise me if neither of them went in the first round.
Yeah. All right. So edge rushers are going to come off the board quick and in a hurry. Ezra Reku is one that's supposed to be around when we pick, and as are a few other ones. But defensive tackle is staring us right in the face, and we could have a premier defensive tackle. Mike, if we have the option to get the best defensive tackle in the draft or the third best edge rusher in the draft, which one would you pick?
Man, it's the best defensive tackle Graham from Michigan.
Aside from Graham, he won't be there. But yeah,
I was about to say, if we can get Graham, then heck yeah, let's go. Outside of Graham, I ain't feeling none of the D tackles that much, especially when we have so much depth at that position. It would be heartbreaking if we went defensive tackle in the first round. Of course, we trust Peters and the staff to do the best. They know way more than we do. But I just feel like with other holes to fill, going D tackle over drafting a wide receiver, running back, or trading back would be pretty disappointing. So no. But as far as taking the versus the edge, it's not like the edges are that better, bro. So I was going to ask for option C, but I was like, nah, maybe he wanted me to stick to it. But I'm going to need option C because both of those options suck. I don't want to draft the third best edge or the best D tackle. I want to trade back or get something explosive.
Okay. Jerry Jones today said that he has 2 pretty substantive trades that could happen before the draft or after the draft. Is he blowing smoke, or do you think the Cowboys are really cooking something up?
Yeah, he's going to trade 2 more picks for a wide receiver that's not going to play for him.
As soon as you said Jerry Jones said, I'm like, oh.
He has to be the center of attention, so he'll say whatever he has to get people to talk about it. So that's that. That's all I have to say about that. I'm not gonna indulge any further because that's what he wants.
He lying.
You're right. Cam Scatterbo. Draft. Scatterbo might go undrafted. What do you think?
Really?
No, I'm asking. I think he.
Oh no! Heck no! That man is. Nah, that is a listen. If we didn't have Brian Robinson, I would love to get Cam Scatterbo up in this joint.
No, don't say that. No,
but
stop.
He's not better than Brian Robinson, and that's the Mendoza line right now for running back in our core. Are you better? Can you be better than Brian Robinson? Cam Scatterbo, I don't think so. But if, like I said, he's a baller. I'm looking, I know I got people that watch this that I'm in dynasty leagues with, but if he's sitting there in the third round in a dynasty league, I might have to grab it. Pause.
Yeah, he's going to be that guy who has 200 yards rushing and 12 touchdowns.
For the season, yes.
Yeah, like that's
No,
going to be
for his career, you mean? Yes.
like
Yes.
he's just going to be that guy who's going to be the touchdown vulture for your fantasy team. No, I can see him in like San Francisco or Miami, that scheme that kind of Shanahan running scheme. That's where I see him.
San Francisco,
Yeah,
that's perfect.
yeah, that's where I see him coming through, and I'm sure he'll be fine. But I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna be anything more than like a mid-level running back, like Mike said, Mendoza line.
The lazy comp is comparing him to Peyton Hillis.
Yeah.
Like, what are y'all? That is so lazy.
Yeah.
Like, I understand they might be close enough in style, but come on, don't compare a good white running back with another good white running back. Go deeper in your analysis, man. I'm just saying. I'm sorry, I had to get that out.
The right comp is Juszczyk in San Francisco. That's the right comp. That's what he is in the NFL. So
Mike, what's his name? Mike Anderson.
Mike Davis.
Davis.
Patrick Ricard. That's where he's gonna be in that lane, right?
Alfred Morris. He's going to be a guy who's going to fit in like a certain system, and he's going to have a good year. He's a Shanahan back. That's what he is to me.
All right, Alfred Morris is a perfect comp. Like that's the type of running back he is. Yeah, yes. Have you seen that Bama run? That is a. I didn't even think about it until you said something. That is a good comp.
Fine. You think Ken Scalabo is Alfred Morris?
In a Shanahan,
that's a good comp.
Yeah, that's the kind of he would like if he goes to a team that doesn't do what he's good at, he's gonna struggle. If he goes to a team that runs that zone kind of scheme, the one cut and go scheme, like somebody like Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, somebody like that, Green Bay, like those are the guys. That's the scheme he's going to work in. And if he goes somewhere else, it's not going to work. But if he goes he's going to have like 1,200 yards, and then he's going to go somewhere else and stink because they're just going to look at the stat line, just like every other Shanahan back.
That's the last thing I'll say. I bet he has that commander star next to his name. I promise you, because that dude is a baller. He's a football player, and I'm telling you, I would not be absolutely shocked if they ended up drafting him because we want more dynamic running back. We would think so because of the running backs that we have, but I would not be surprised based on what I've seen, read about him, heard about him, if Washington went that way at some point in the draft if they had it.
I love y'all and I hate y'all at the same time. Y'all are blowing up Scatterbo. This kid is, look, I'm sorry. Anybody listening that loves Scatterbo, I'm sorry. But I'm usually not wrong about these things, okay? I know it's a little bit controversial in the beginning because I'm going against the grain and everybody, he's a fan favorite. Guys, he ain't it. Like, I saw a comp for Toby Gerhart. There you go. Like,
See, what is this? What is
man, it's a physical profile. Take that back.
They haven't come. Lazy.
It's a lazy comp.
I never forgot what I was about to say. Dang it.
Anyway, I'm moving on from Scatterbo because I think he's going to be a depth piece at best. And then he's going to kind of wash out after that. Like, that's my personal opinion. I don't got to be right. I'm probably not right. Yeah, I'm probably right, but it'll take y'all a couple years.
I remember now. Last year, we were telling everybody about Bucky Irvin throughout the entire draft. We were telling everybody about Bucky Irvin. Did people listen? Nope.
They did not. So listen to me about Scatterbo. All right. Next rumor. Jalen Milroe everybody's hot about Jalen Milroe. He's going to go early. The NFL has not learned their lessons about Anthony Richardson. Eric, do you buy that?
No. Hendon Hooker. That's all I'm going to say about him. Everybody's hyping him up, and everybody's got this suddenly, like right before the draft, it's a first-round grade. He's going to go in round 3 where he should. And I'm not saying he's going to be a bad quarterback in the NFL. I think he'll be fine, again, in the right system with time to grow. I got no problem with Jalen Milroe going somewhere. I don't buy the first round or the high pick at all. I think it's just like it's hype. Just like I said, Hendon Hooker was a couple of years ago. Everybody thought, or Joe Milton last year. Like right before the draft, everybody starts hyping him up like they're going to go high, and they go where they should go. So that's where I think he's, nothing against him. But also somebody said, I read today, somebody called him the best running quarterback they have ever seen. And I said, you should go put on some Michael Vick film and then have a Coke and a seat because you're wrong.
Yeah, I saw that too. And
Yeah,
since William being the best running quarterback, mean you were going first, like in the first round. What? Like, is he the best throwing? Yeah, it's getting wild out here. All right. Another player that is really high on people's board is the linebacker Campbell from Alabama. If he's at our pick, are you guys sprinting to the podium to take Jihad Campbell?
Not now. Maybe if this is a few years later or something, but he's not the linebacker that I think people want him to be. I think people would like a Bobby Wagner type, Lou Kuechly type, captain type leader, play caller at linebacker, and what's his name? Jihad Campbell is not that type of linebacker. He's more like Louvu. He's the off-ball linebacker that can wreak havoc. So drafting him at 29 wouldn't be the most efficient pick, in my opinion.
Reggie Ragland. That's all I'm going to say.
Reggie
Ragland, Alabama. Everybody thought he was that dude too, and he ended up just being a guy. And nothing like he probably had a fine career, but I don't know. No, I think if Jihad Campbell's there at 29, you give him a look. But I mean, I don't know. Linebacker's not a super pressing need, and I don't know if that's like. I'm sure there's somebody they would rather have there at 29 than Jihad Campbell. Nothing against him, but I feel like there's probably going to be there's other positions. Like I would rather have the third best corner than Jihad Campbell. Let's put it that way.
I don't know, bro. I kind of like Campbell a lot. I think but where's he going to play? That's the tough part about it, So, all right, let's wrap it up like this. I know last week we talked about what we thought was going to happen. Mike, you weren't here. I'm going to go again. A lot has changed. Peters is done with his evaluations, just small tweaks. The NFL is kind of shaping up. Eric, where do you expect us to go with pick 29 on Thursday night?
I'm starting to think it's corner. I think they're going for a cornerback because kind of what Mike alluded to earlier, right? You're going to have like the fourth or fifth best edge rusher or probably the second or third best corner. And I think you take the second or third best corner in that situation. And I love Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State the more that I watch him. And I think he's somebody that you can actually trade back and probably get if that's an option. He might even be there at the set with their round 2 pick. But the athletic profile that he has and that he's still he hasn't played a lot at corner, and I love him, and I think I love him. I don't know if they're going to pick him. I really like him a lot. There's other guys that I like too. I like Hairston, but I think he's going to be gone a little earlier than that. Anybody 4-2 corner, I'll take that all day. But I think corner's the pick at 29. If you put a gun to my head right now, I think they're going cornerback.
Mike?
Obviously, the ultimate goal would be to trade back, but we can't predict that. Maybe teams like, we're not trading with the Commanders. They might be too good now. We don't want to help them. So, gun in my head, running back seems like the sexy choice, but I just feel like it's too many running backs in the draft to take one with your first pick. Offensive line feels like a safe bet, especially if Simmons falls to 29. I feel like you kind of got to jump on that talent, especially when you have an offensive line that's kind of young but old. Some of these players may not be there for long, like Wiley. So re-upping on the offensive line is always a safe way to go.
I'm gonna lock in on Will Johnson. I think he's gonna fall a little bit because of the knee injury. He didn't play his best last year. Cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan. You got a Michigan cornerback tandem. Go Maize and Blue. And Adam Pierce is going to take him because he's going to fall a little bit. And we're going to have one of the best secondaries in the NFL. And then not have to ever think about Benjamin St-Juste again. All right. So we will see you after the draft. We're not going to live stream for the draft because we're too old for that now. Thank you, everybody, for locking in with us. And let's talk about those draft picks next week. You never know. We may get some special guests over the summer as we get more familiar with these draft picks. Commanders Declassified Nation, we are OUTHERE out of here. Peace.